everyone, and welcome back to Radio Geonosis, where we talk about Star Wars from a certain point of view. I'm Angie.
And I'm Aaron. What's going on, guys?
Hey, and today we're going to be doing tabletop games.
Yeah.
Yes. Too bad Emma's not here. She's had to work again, so hopefully we'll get her back in. But before we go to the tabletop games, we're going to do some hot happenings from this week.
Yes.
This past weekend, I went to a Star Wars all-group build party. So that means that Rebel Legion was there, Droid Builders were there, 501st was there, Saber Guild was there, and it was a lot of fun. I got to work on my Bear Sophie costume, so I was really happy. Yeah, I was really happy about
That's
that.
awesome.
Okay, so here's some news that I looked around the internet and came up with. Anthony Daniels wrapped up C-3PO on Star Wars Episode 9. He writes on Twitter, today was 3PO's last on Episode 9. He's sad, so am I. So I'm wondering if that's going to be it for him. If he's no longer going to be on any of the movies, does he get killed? What happens to him?
I wonder too. That's great. I didn't even hear anything about that.
Yeah, and he said he's had a lot of great memories, a lot of fun. And he said that, he was happy that he got to be part of this and they're making something very exceptional. So, wow. I mean, everyone's coming out saying that. So hopefully we're going to be seeing a really, really good movie. They got to make up for the last one.
Yeah, they definitely do. And that's crazy. It's like an end of an era, kind of.
I'm hoping that's not it, but you know what? Maybe that's going to be it for all of them. And then they go on to something else.
They go on to something else, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, possibly. Disneyland's new Star Wars ride is rumored to be 28 minutes long.
What?
Yeah, almost 30 minutes to ride this thing?
So it's an experience, because that's what I was hearing that they wanted people to have, was an experience.
Well, they're going to have quite a few people in the thing in order to get that experience, because can you imagine waiting in line?
Oh, I can't imagine waiting.
That's going to be like all day.
I don't want to imagine waiting. I got to renew my season pass anyway. I'm not even looking forward to that, yet alone the lines for Star Wars Land.
How about this one? Jon Favreau teases a classic Star Wars droid in The Mandalorian. The droid is R5-D4. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. The droid first appeared in the original Star Wars, the original 1977 Star Wars.
Okay. So he's bringing it back.
Bringing it back vintage. That's for damn sure.
Jon Favreau is a genius. For those who don't know, he's directed like the Iron Man movies. He's like a consultant. Like whenever Marvel Studios does any Marvel movie, he's like the man they go talk to just to.
He's the go-to.
He's the go-to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! How about this one? Yesterday, 11 years ago, Ahsoka Tano was introduced to the world. She was introduced to the world on Clone Wars, and I believe that she is one of the best Star Wars characters.
Oh, without a doubt. So happy birthday to Ahsoka Tano.
Yes.
11th birthday.
She's 11 years old. Yesterday. How about, I want to get these. Star Wars now has cards against humanity, but they're cards against Star Wars.
I have to definitely get those.
Those seem like a lot of fun.
Are they out now, or are they coming soon, or?
I think you can order them. Order them. Yeah, okay. From what I saw. How about this one? We're going to file it in the I'll believe it when I see it cabinet. Star Wars Episode 9 rumors say Disney is negotiating with Hayden Christensen to return for a bit of the film. So like I said, I'm going to file that in the I'll believe it when I see it.
It's crazy. The politics with Star Wars are insane. Like. And it might not just be. It could be Disney as well. I would say Disney. The politics Disney has are pretty insane. As far as reaching out to people who were once in something and getting them to come back. They're pretty insane. Like when
they
it comes to those.
Put Obi-Wan Kenobi in there.
You know why you want him in there.
I know damn well why I want him in there.
But that would be really awesome if they did bring him back, though.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I think that we're going to see some Force ghosts because we obviously have to answer questions as to what she saw down in the cave. We have to answer questions as to, what everything was going on, and the tree, and There was a lot of stuff left out.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't even really understand the temple that was built or where Luke had the temple, what planet it was on, where Snoke came from. And apparently people are telling me, well, maybe Snoke is also going to come back because how do we know he's really dead?
Yeah, that's true. How do we know? We don't even know.
Yeah, we do. We thought Darth Maul was cut in half and gone.
And he lives
on.
He lives on, yeah. I really do hope that they bring him back, though, because other than, like, I don't think he's doing anything right now. Maybe he's writing or maybe he's directing. I'm not sure. But I haven't seen him in anything. So it would be awesome if they brought him back.
He was in Solo, so they said that there's a possibility that we're going to see Kira in this. Mm-hmm. We could see him in it. God only knows what they could be doing.
Well, yeah, they could be doing pretty much whatever they want to.
Yeah.
So.
And J.J. Abrams he's cleaning up the mess.
Yeah, and what a mess he has to clean up.
Yeah, you know exactly. I mean? I totally agree. I mean, you know how I feel about that.
Yeah. We know.
Okay, so Star Wars and tabletop games. I looked all this stuff up, and I thought it was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. A role-play game, or RPG, is a game in which players assume the role of characters in a fictional setting. Players take responsibility for acting out these roles within a narrative, either through literal acting or through a process of structured decisions, making character development actions taken within many games succeed or fail according to a formal system of rules and guidelines. That is what a role-play game is.
Yes. I
was reading that. I'm like, I'm already lost.
That is an RPG, and for all our game fans, or even the people like when Emma was here, she talked about this place over by the boxing gym. They play Warhammer 40K, I believe, and we're
gonna make a visit down there.
Yeah, and Diablo and stuff like that. So that's basically what it is.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, the original form of role play game, tabletop role playing game, is characters through discussion. RPG, and then there is LARP. Yes. Players physically perform their characters' actions. Both TRPG and LARP form a game and they also have a game master. Both of those have game masters, and they're called, the game master is a GM. Mm-hmm. I'm like, holy crud. Who usually decides on the rules and settings to be used, acting as a referee while each of the players play the role of single character.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I guess there's a lot to it. But, and when I was reading that, I thought, you know what, Saber Guild is kind of LARPing. Even though we say that it isn't, it kind of is.
Kind of.
So I could say I kind of LARP.
You're kind of a LARPer. Kind of. But I understand where Saber Guild is saying that they don't LARP, because with LARPing, they throw like these big, to my knowledge, like I've never done it, but like they throw like these big weekend like events where like huge battles go down, and people they fight and everything like that, and it's usually like mostly like medieval kind of.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly medieval.
It's mostly medieval and stuff like that. So I see why that's why the Saber Guild will say like they're necessarily not LARPing. It's not like when you guys kill someone like just lay on the floor the whole time.
Well, we will be.
You guys will be, yeah. But like LARPing, like if you kill someone, like
they have to lay there.
Yeah, they have to lay there. You cut their arm off, like they have to really put their arm behind their back, and it could go on for hours too. So, yeah.
Well, when I do know that for the WonderCon show that the Jedi are going to die. So we're going to die. Wow. If I decide to do Jedi, I'm going to die.
I have already practiced. Inside information. Right?
Yeah, you just got. If I'm a Sith, then I'm going to be killing a Jedi.
Are they giving you the chance to pick, or you have to wait? Or?
Well, I have to see what Jennifer wants to do because she's the partner that I'm going to fight with. We have a fight together.
Gotcha.
But we don't kill each other. We didn't because we did that for a bunch of kids. But when we do the WonderCon and Comic-Con shows, we can have death in it.
Okay, you guys can.
So We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so sorry guys. Several varieties of RPG also exist in electrical media, such as multiplayer text-based MUDs and their graphic-based successors, massive multiplayer online roles playing games. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
That's all right.
MMORPG''S. So that would be you, because you've done multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like when you play, what's that one that's real popular right now?
A Battlefront.
And what's the other one that a lot of kids play?
Fortnite. Yes.
So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, massive online game.
Yeah, and they're making massive amounts of money. And then those games often share the same rules within, like with tabletop games. And they have characters, they have advancements, they have collaborating stories. So they have basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
basically, yeah.
Yeah, and I think what they did was they went from the tabletop in the 70s to what we see now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they've all adapted the same rules, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it transferred over.
Yeah,
for sure. It
seems to be that way. Now, the very first RPG that started it all was Dungeons and Dragons, and that was in 1970. I believe it was in 1975. So they started off with 74. I stand corrected, and they were the very first ones to do it. And I think they really didn't think that game would go far. They sold about 50,000 copies, but when you're selling about 50,000 copies, what do you think? Yeah. That game has gone far.
Okay, it's gone far enough.
It's not like selling 100 copies. You've sold 50,000.
Yeah.
And that game still is pretty strong today.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons is like a really, really popular game. It's it's been passed down. Just like how people learn chess and checkers or cards or whatever the case. That's what Dungeons and Dragons is, basically.
That's pretty clever, and this guy that came up with it, I thought, that was really awesome, and it was originally really popular with the college kids. It was considered like a cult kind of thing.
Oh, okay. And I know like in the 70s, I was watching like Stranger Things. I know in the 70s, even my dad told me the same thing. Like they would have games where you have like the character pieces, and then you have to read. Someone would read, like the like how you explained earlier, they're like the GM. What were they
our tabletop game.
Yeah. And they would read the scenario. Yeah, they would read the scenario of like, this ogre like crossed the bridge and so on and so forth like that, and then it's up to you to like make up the person to make up the scenario, how they get out of it, and that person like determines whether that works.
It's viable or not.
Yeah.
So that was I thought that was really cool. I mean, I've never done it, and Emma said she's going to get people together for Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, I'll watch. She goes, oh no, you're going to play.
You're going to play. Yeah.
So I'm in.
I'm definitely, because I've never done it.
Yeah.
I've seen it played, but I've never participated in
I think it would be cool.
Game.
You do Saturday night kind of thing,
Yeah.
Everybody gets together for that.
And I'm not a cards person or like even dominoes for that matter. So like with me, it was always like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon cards. It's different than like actual moving pieces, but those kind of games like that.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because those are also lumped into RPG, but they're considered kind of an offshoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of an offshoot, yeah.
Exactly.
The very first Star Wars role-playing game sits in the Star Wars universe, written and published by West End Games, WEG, ran from 1987 to 1999, which I found an interesting date because that was right before the release of Episode 1. But that one was it was released on it was released just in time for the 10-year anniversary of A New Hope, and then shortly after Return of the Jedi. So it's obvious that people wanted more.
Yeah, for sure.
They were also printing books, and but they couldn't go back in time because there was no reference to back in time. So there was no Old Republic kind of thing just yet. It was everything forward after Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. But it's obvious that people wanted more, and they wanted to be part of Star Wars. And by doing that with the West End Games, it gave them the opportunity to do that role play. Yeah, which I thought I loved it. I was looking at all this. I'm like, yeah. And everyone believed that this would be the last time we were going to see a Star Wars movie. After episode 3, I thought that was going to be the last Star Wars movie.
And wow.
Remember?
Yeah.
When Revenge of the Sith came out, I thought, okay, that's it. There's nothing else. And then a few years later, we see Clone Wars.
Yeah, so and
it lives on and on.
That's great, man. People were probably just so bummed after episode 3, and then all of a sudden they just got hit with Clone Wars.
Yes, but I think the same is for the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
People thought that was it. They did have books. They were going forward with books. And it said the game system was slightly modified and re-released in 2004 as DS Space, which used a genetic space opera setting as related to Star Wars, and that was an RPG. And it was published by Wizards of the Coast. And that ran from 2000 to 2010 because right after the 99 West End Games ended, they pretty much went bankrupt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And wow. I found it odd that after they go bankrupt, then the new movie comes out.
Then the movie comes out.
Yeah, I thought, well, that's
good. I wonder how that worked.
Yeah, but the West End Games was really, really... It played a huge part in Star Wars, but it originated with Ghostbusters. It was originally a RPG game for Ghostbusters. I'm like, how do you do that?
That's what it originally was.
Originally, our West End Games, they were making a game for Ghostbusters.
Gotcha. But it would make way more sense to do a Star Wars game than
exactly.
Ghostbusters game.
Yeah, how can you do a Ghostbusters RPG?
But at the same time, I could see like why because Ghostbusters was popular as well too. So I see it, but it just made more sense because with the Star Wars characters in the world and everything else like that and all the information. I mean,
you have much more and West End Games plays a huge role in that. With Ghostbusters, I don't see how they could do it, but there is a group that all gets together. They're Ghostbuster characters, and it's cool. We've actually had a booth right next to them.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they're really cool guys, but I just can't see how it could go as a role play game.
Like a role playing game.
Yeah, I just can't get behind that.
Right, no offense, guys, but
no, not at all. Star Wars had an expanded universe. They had all kinds of source books and frequently cited by Star Wars fans as a reference material. And then they used these West End game books because I guess there was different ones. There was different little journals. And people got all this information or more information about Star Wars based on that.
Okay, gotcha.
And it says that Lucas considered the West End games, he considered them to be a really good kind of Star Wars source material. When and he decided when Timothy Zahn was going to write the Thrawn trilogy, he let him write that. He gave Timothy the West End Games source material.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because
what a present!
Because the information that was in these books, George felt that it would be really good for the books.
Yeah.
Which I think, wow,
that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
that was really, 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 really dope.
Yeah, because some of the names that are used in Star Wars now came from West End games like Twerkle, Rodan, and Quarrel.
Quarren.
Yeah. Quarren. He used those names because Twerkle wasn't used before.
So you took some of the vocabulary from West End Games
and put it in
basically
there.
Made it canon, kind of.
Yes.
Wow, that is awesome.
I think West End Games is still canon.
It's still canon. Okay,
I think it still counts. I think it does. I don't think that they took that out, considering that there was so much source material in there, and these people came up with it. So that's what I like about George is that he's able to use all these different people. He gets ideas from all these different people to expand Star Wars.
Yeah.
And make it have more
depth.
More depth. Yeah. I agree. I thought when I was reading that, I thought, oh, that's kind of cool.
And it must be crazy that you're working for West End Games, and then George Lucas is like, what was that word? Quarantine? Like, is it okay if I use that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, for books. Can you imagine?
Yeah, please.
Whoever came up with Twerkle?
Yeah.
Or Twi'lek? However you want to say it. It's like tomato.
Yeah.
Even after Disney's reboot of the Star Wars Expanded Universe in 2014, much of the nomenclature still exists in the canon works. So pretty much all of it, because they rebooted the West End games, pretty much all of it's still in there.
It's pretty much there. Still.
Because there must have been some great material in there. I'm going to have to get the books, because I was looking on the Thrifty Books, and I found something like a journal thing that has all the different. It's a book with all the different journals in it, so I definitely want to look
Check that out.
Yeah. In 1992, West End Games published the second edition of the games, and title remained this is where it gets fun here. Remained unchanged. In 1996, a revision of the second edition, what they saw new light. I scribbled this so fast that I can't read it, but it was slightly different. So it originally was the Star Wars role play game, and then they changed it, and then it ran to then it went to Star Wars role play game. So it was two different ways. Yeah, it was two different ways to put it, but it still sounds the same.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining that they wanted to keep that.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that they could not. If you change it too much, then people aren't going to recognize it.
Yeah, yeah.
So they wanted to keep that, so they still were able to get
to attach themselves to it somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
There's also, in addition, 15 issues of a magazine series. They did 15 issues of a magazine series, the Star Wars Adventures, and articles for the game, plus short stories extended to prove inspirational for game masters and news relating to Star Wars.
Star Wars. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but they got bankrupt in 1998.
I wonder if that was just due to, just technology taking over and the lack thereof, the need for it to be like, the tabletop game or. Well,
maybe with West End games, maybe the thing is it was no longer going forward. Now it's going backwards.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that's why they didn't go anymore, because the West End games, tabletop games, was everything after Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything after that, because the Force Awakens was not there yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it got to that point, and they're like, okay, now we're going backwards. Because once George wrote Episode 1, everybody was allowed to write and do things of the Old Republic.
Okay, got you.
Because then you see the games from the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you played the games.
Yeah, those games were like on, KOTOR is like one of the best Star Wars games ever made. So.
Right, because they went backwards at that point.
Yeah.
But West End games did play a big role. They did play a big role in all the source material. They played a big role in a lot of the stories that you see, and possibly some of the books that were written after Thrawn.
And I'm pretty sure that had a lot to do with the games. I mean, it was like the first of the Star Wars games, you could say.
Right,
so
right.
It definitely was the pioneer to like everything start like after Star Wars, like the games we had and like, that I grew up playing, like on my Nintendo 64, even Super Nintendo for that matter. So like, yeah, they definitely were the pioneers for that.
But if you stop and think about it, there really was no Star Wars video game. So what did you do? You did a role play game.
You did a role play game. Exactly.
That was our way of doing it back in the 70s.
And I know not too long after that, like, there was like a Star Wars you had to go to the arcade to play it.
Yeah. We just did not have the technology.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back then we did not have the computer, home computers to do that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
and if you did, it was like huge.
Yeah, yeah. If you did it, the government was probably after you. Like, how'd you do this? Yeah.
Because you don't really start seeing computers and things until the mid '80s.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the Apple computer comes out in the mid 80s. And so we're talking about 1978. That's when West End Games came out. And at that time, we didn't have home computers. We had no cell phones. We had no beepers. We didn't have any of that. We had arcades. Pinball.
Yeah,
And I think we were just getting off the ground for some of the video games like
Atari. I believe it was Atari.
Yeah, Atari and what Pong was that? Pong, where they played the game. Back
it was basically like just tennis. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was Pong. But
think about the computer graphics for that it probably was a huge chip. It was like the size of a cell phone.
Yeah, yeah.
But the West End Games was really important. They won an award for the original. They won an award for the original best role play game in 1978.
Okay, so they were vital.
Yeah, they were vital, and it was the game now still stands as one of the 50 most popular role playing games. Rules for the game.
Wow.
This is the rules for the game. One player is the master who runs the game world, being something like a director, referee, while the others players have a single character or role to play. The players, and this is the same thing for computers, the player character have various skills and equipment, and some even use the Force. One thing for sure is West End Games RPG kept the franchise alive after Return of the Jedi. So what they did was they established like you were in the Death Star, or you were on Tatooine.
The scenario like I alluded to earlier, which like I saw in Stranger Things, basically.
Right, and so that's what they did is they were basically in a strange way LARPing the movie.
The movie, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you would in a scenario, and then the director would see, that makes sense. All right, you may pass.
Right, but they had to have a rule book. They had to have so just like in Dungeons and Dragons, they say this is the scenario. You're in the Death Star. You have to escape. How do you do
it? Exactly.
How do you get out of there? Now there's no Jedi, just Luke. So there is a Jedi or Obi-Wan or Yoda, but there's nothing else after. You realize there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There's no other Jedi, just those three. Oh, well, I take it back. Vader.
But but you're still right in a sense. Like you're still
but those were the only characters. So you had to be either going to be an officer on the Death Star, you were going to be a stormtrooper, you were going to be Han, or you were going to be a rebel.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all there was. But that I think West End Games kind of kept Star Wars alive with the fans up until 99.
Well, I'm pretty sure people still play them too.
Oh yeah.
You said till around 99, right? Because
99 is when because it's coming up. This year is the anniversary for Episode 1. 20 years.
20 years. Oh wow.
I can't even believe that. I saw that movie. But think about how the characters are still, people still love those characters. And now I think, when you talk to people, more and more people are talking about, well, you know what, maybe 1, 2, and 3 weren't as bad as we thought.
I think people are because, it takes a while for people to appreciate things because, when the movie came out, people were almost like how you feel about the last Jedi.
There's no way I'm going to change my mind.
No. Yeah, you're set in stone like that about that. But when Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out, you have people like just nitpick. There's things that they didn't like about those movies. But then as time goes on, not saying that you love the movie, but you just find little nuances or little things about the movie that you do, you tolerate.
Right.
And I think with Episode 1, 2, and 3, I think people were so quick to, because there was a huge gap of 20 some odd years before the Episode 1 came out.
Right.
So people were like, they had for
already
20 years,
they had
visions in their head. So like, you kind of, you show them Episode 1, and they're just like, this is not what I thought about the last 20 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're disappointed. But over time, you're just like, how else could they have done it?
Yeah, but when I think about Anakin, that people get mad the way that Anakin was portrayed in Episode 1. I really think it was pretty much perfect. The kid was a slave. The kid was, he was on a planet. He was being moved around with his mom. Mm-hmm. How did you want him to feel? He was a scrambled up kid.
Yeah. And that goes to show like people weren't, it took them some time because that's how it had to play out.
Yeah. He was he was a kid that,
he saw a lot.
Yeah, he saw a lot, and then when he goes to the Jedi temple, he's pretty much rejected.
They automatically are just like, I don't know, So you
and
go.
He's too old.
He's too old. We usually get the kids from when they're younger. You know what I mean? So it's like he went from where he grew up, a harsh environment, and then to the Jedi temple where you're supposed to be appreciated because someone, this Jedi telling you you're the one, and they sense all this stuff in you, this certain prowess and everything like that, just to get rejected.
But think about it. Here's a kid that was on Tatooine. I don't know if he's ever gone anywhere else. He was sold, with his mother. They lived in an environment where they weren't allowed to escape because they would blow up. Because remember, there was something it's like almost a chip in them.
Yeah, chip. Yeah,
where they would blow up. So when he finally becomes free, and he's not with his mother. You're like a kid that's never been out in the environment. Yeah. You do not know how to act.
Yeah.
And so I think George nailed it right because, this kid how does he know how to act? He doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He has no clue.
Yeah, he has no clue because he's never been out of this sphere of Tatooine and doing his daily work at the shop.
And I think people just had a different. I think with people had a different, in their head, again, for those some odd years before the movies came back out again, of how Darth Vader's childhood was. And so when they saw, like, how it, was portrayed in episode 1, they're kind of like, this is not, I didn't think Darth Vader the man that was Darth Vader grew up like this, what I mean? But
right.
In all actuality, like, you see, like, why he did become Darth Vader, because his life was like pretty rough,
Yeah, it was
PTSD. What I mean?
Exactly,
like, what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it had to end up that way. It had to go that route.
Yeah, I mean? It did. In order for him to become Darth Vader, it had to go that route.
It had to be some kind of trauma. You know what I mean?
Right.
And again, I think over time people just, with the episodes 1, 2s, and 3s, like people find appreciation for him because, again, after episode 3, like you said earlier, people didn't know if there's going to be any more Star Wars movies after that. But then you actually think about the character that is Darth Vader. It's like, yeah, his life did have to go on this trajectory for him to be
Vader.
To be Vader.
Easily manipulated.
Easily
manipulated.
Easily.
So, I mean, it had to be that way. But I thought, when I went over that, and I hope I explained it pretty well because I kind of skimmed over some of the stuff because I tend to write a lot and then I'm thinking, wait, I'm like way over what I should have written. Other games with Star Wars is X-Wing miniature games. Star Wars Rebellion is a board game, and there's also and that's extremely popular.
I've heard of Rebellion.
Yeah, and there's also Star Wars Imperial Assault. Mm-hmm. But the X-Wing game seems to be super, super popular because they have those little miniatures.
Figurines.
Right. And what Emma said with D&D is that you have to get them. You pretty much they're like little things that you have to mold, and then you have to paint them.
You have to paint them, yeah.
And the beauty of the X-Wings is that it is there.
It's already set up for you.
It's almost like, I have Stratego, but I have Lord of the Rings Stratego, and I've never played it.
Mm-hmm. Might want to.
I might want to, but it's almost like Stratego because you've got a big board, and let's say you're out in you're doing a battle with your X-Wings and your TIE fighters, and you've got them all sitting there, and I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I definitely want to give it a shot just because I haven't played it. What I mean? I'm definitely down to play. But I've heard of Rebellion though. I've heard of the Star Wars Rebellion board game. I've heard of it. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Battleship. Remember the game?
Yeah, Battleship.
Yeah, it's kind of like that too.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Kind of in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely want to try it out. And now those games, they have the RPG games in that form on your phone now in the Apple iStore now. So
really,
yeah, it's crazy. It's like Star Wars Galaxy is the one that's popular now.
But see, that's not that's something you're playing on your phone, so it's still considered like a video game.
Yeah, they just all they did was basically take those rules and just put it on your, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
yeah. the RPG side of things.
Exactly. But I found it was really cool that they did come up with this because people do want more, and they still do want more. I mean, we wouldn't be seeing The Mandalorian and people excited about that. We wouldn't be seeing the new cartoons and people excited about that, and more of the comic books, because people want more.
Absolutely, they do. I mean, people can't get enough of Star Wars. I mean, look at us.
I know. And it's ridiculous. Mark's all, how do you keep watching those movies over and over? I never get tired of it.
No.
I never get tired of it because I'm like, oh, there's something new I didn't catch.
Yeah, you always pick up on something new, and, don't judge us.
Yeah, I still like Clone Wars. I do need to get Rebels. I have not gotten Rebels.
I agree. In time, though, I will get Rebels in time.
Yeah, because I have all the Clone Wars except for the missing episodes. I don't have that. I still need to get that. But I'm definitely gonna get the role play game, and then we're gonna take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So that's going to do it for us here at Radio Geonosis this week. Please follow us on Facebook at Radio Geonosis 2.0.
Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube. Let's get those subscribers so we get our personal URL. On Instagram at Radio Geonosis. Make sure you also follow at Matt Studios _HQ where we have the show live from. We're on iTunes and Podbean and all sorts of all that good stuff.
Yes, so please follow us. Next week we're going to be doing your favorite. Sorry about that, everybody. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but thank you for listening to our show, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.